Algebra Basics by Pat Hamilton. Math 1350, Professor Harrison. Hi everyone. So today we're going to learn some algebra basics. I know, algebra, people freak out with that. But chill out, I'm going to show you some easy strategies to be able to do algebra. Alright, so in first grade, second grade, you're learning your math facts. You found out that 3 plus 2 equaled, and then on your worksheet, your teacher usually had a blank, and you would work the math problem, correct? Okay. And sometimes on your math worksheet, the blank might have been a square, and you had to fill that in. Or maybe it was a circle and you had to put the answer in there. Either way, you knew that you had to fill in that blank. Okay, so here's the deal. Algebra, instead of a blank, a square, a circle, algebra throws a kink in the works. Algebra says 3 plus 2 equals X. And technically, it can be any letter of the alphabet. Usually in algebra, you're going to see an X or a Y. Okay? This is called a variable. Why? Because it can change from problem to problem. Okay? It's not always the same number. But we'll get into that as we get further into lessons throughout algebra, but not today. All right. So, when you see a problem, 3 plus 2 equals X, you all of a sudden say, what does this mean? What is X? I don't know how to do X. How do you do math with the letter? Easy. Watch this. Keep in mind, first grade, second grade, it was a blank, okay? So we're going to change this up a little bit. It was blank. Right? So, from now on, in our class, whenever we're doing algebra problems, and you see a letter, I want you to underline it. Okay? That's just to tell your brain this is only a blank. It's an unknown. Okay? So, this here is a party, a fact family. We know that 3 came to the party. We know that 2 came to the party, but we don't know who else is at the party. Why? It's unknown. We have to figure it out. Okay, how do we do that? Well, in this example, it's actually quite easy. And especially seeing as we should know our math facts by now, and you've probably already figured this out in your head. But this is what we do. We figure out what 3 plus 2 equals. Everybody should know this. 3 plus 2 equals 5. Okay, that's one side of our equation. We still have the other side. The other side tells us we've got our equal. X goes right there. This is okay, but really we want it to flip-flop. And in math, we can do that. As long as we're taking everything from one side and flipping it. Okay? So we're going to bring the X here, the 5 here. It still says the same thing. 5 equals X or X equals 5. That's the same thing. So we have now found out that X, that X right there, equals 5. But in algebra, you always must check your work. So now what we do is we take and rewrite our problem. We've got 3 plus 2, but we're not putting that X, because now we figured out what X is. We're going to take and say 5. 3 plus 2 equals 5. We're still not finished checking it. This has to be one answer. It can't have a plus sign in there. So 3 plus 2 equals 5. Bring down your equal. 5 is here. Now, does 5 equal 5? Of course it does. We now have a true equation, and we solved our algebra problem, and we found out that this x up here equals 5. Easy, right? Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to put up another one. Let's see if you can figure out what we need to do here. Okay. Let's say we have 10 minus, nope, I don't want to do it this way. So sorry. We're not ready for that part yet. What about x minus 4 equals 12? Okay. Wait a minute. I thought x went over here. Here's the sneaky thing about these letters. They're variables. They can be in any position in the equation. Sometimes they're beginning, middle, end. It's okay. Don't let that freak you out. But this is going to be handled a little differently because on our first equation, x was already sitting all alone by itself. In order to find out how much x equals, it has to be sitting alone. How are we going to do that? All right, this is what we're going to do. We are going to take, and by the way, an equation, when it has this equal sign there, it means it's balanced. Just like on a scale, it's balanced. So 12 is equal or balanced with x minus 4, okay? So we still have this problem of trying to find x. Now, like I told you in the first problem, I want you to underline the variable, the x, or the other letter of the alphabet, whatever the variable is. Underline it. That way your brain knows, I don't know that answer, I have to figure it out. Here's what we're going to do. In order to separate x, we have to get rid of this minus 4. How do we get rid of that? Well, we want it to come to 0. We want the 4 to come to 0. What do we have to do to make that 0? We add 4, okay? Because 4 minus 4 is 0. This gives us our minus sign, okay? So we're going to add, because we have to do the opposite of what this one says. We have to add, and really I should have done a different one, but this will work. Okay? Actually, well, yes, we're already started into this. So 4 minus 4 is going to give us a 0. We do not have to write that 0, but right now I'm just going to do this just so that it's in our brain what we did. But we just made our balance scale go tilt because we took something and changed it on the left side, but we haven't fixed it. So we have to do the same thing. So if we added 4 on the left, we have to do the same thing on the right. Anytime you do something on the left, you do it on the right. If you do it on the right, you do it on the left. Plus 4. Okay, now, this is what we do. The x, we haven't done anything to it. The x is still there. So the x is going to come down into our new equation, x. We've got a 0 here, so we don't need to do anything at all with that. That's finished. Once we get to 0, it's finished. We're going to bring down our equal sign, equals. All right, now we have to complete this side. 12 plus 4. All right, so we learned when we're adding, we add our ones. 2 plus 4 is 6. 1, there's 0 tens in there, so 1 comes down. 12 plus 4 is 16. I'm going to transfer that down there. I should have done it further down. 16. We have now found out x equals 16. But we're not finished. Remember, we have to check our work. So now, instead of writing the letter x, we're going to rewrite this equation, but instead of writing the letter x, we are going to write the number that we think is the correct answer. So we're going to put 16. Now come back up to this equation, minus 4 equals 12. If you know your math facts, we do know that 16 minus 4 equals 12. Otherwise, use your fingers and toes if you need to. Joking. 12 equals 12. That is indeed a true equation. 12 does equal 12. We have solved our problem, our equation. And we found out that x equals 16. Okay. Now, let's go. This is the problem that I should have given you to start with instead of starting with that. But that's okay. I think we can get this. All right. So what we're going to do is we have this worksheet. Okay, this is our worksheet for today. The first one is our example, and I'm going to do this on the board for us. I've given you space to be able to do your work. Okay? I want to see your work. I don't want you to just do brain work. I want to see it written down. So our first one, x plus 6 equals 15. All right, here we go. X plus 6 equals 15. All right, so remember what we said. We've got a fact family here and they're having a party. They've come to dinner. All right, first thing we do, what do? That's right, we underline our variable. Why? That tells us we don't know who they are and we have to find out. Okay, so we've got our variable underlined. That's what we're going to be looking for, is who is x. Okay, now we also found out we have to keep our equation balanced, okay? But we also have to separate x. In order to figure out who x is, we have got to separate them. So this one has an addition sign. That means we're doing the opposite. What's the opposite of addition? Correct. Subtraction. We're going to subtract. What number are we subtracting? Right, 6, because we're trying to get this one to be 0. All right, 6 minus 6. And you can do it very lightly. You might not even see this on the camera, but you can do it lightly and put your 0. Because we don't need to write that one down when we're doing our answer. Okay, but keeping things balanced, we also need to do the same thing. If I did it on the left, I must do it on the right. So I have got to do minus 6 on the right. Now, we can get this figured out. We didn't do anything with x, so x is going to drop down. He's going to come right here. We figured out that this is 0. Don't need to do anything else with it. We're going to bring our equals down here. And then the only thing we need to figure out now is our right side. 15 minus 6. Okay? 15 minus 6, if you know your basic facts and fact families, you will know that 15 minus 6 equals 9. Are we finished? No. There's one more step. What is it? Checking it. That's right. We have to check it. So, we have x, but we're not using x in this next equation. What are we using? Yep, we're going to use the 9, because here it tells us that x equals 9. So we're going to say 9 plus 6 equals 15. Now, that might be true, but we don't know because all we have is 9 plus 6. Now we have to figure that equation. 9 plus 6 is 15. Does it equal 15? 15 does equal 15, so we have a true equation. So we found out that x equals 9. Okay. The rest of the class will work on the worksheets. If you have questions, I'm available for you. And I want to see your work.